This is a men's shirt making video, part 4, collar. This video covers the construction of the collar, including the channels for the collar stays and attaching it to the neckline. To create the channels for the collar stays, take 2 undercollar pieces. On one of the pieces, fold the neck side corners to match the shape of the channel. Place this piece on the right side of the other undercollar piece. Top stitch the 2 layers together to form the channels. Next, stitch the top collar and the undercollar together, with right sides facing. Leave the neck side open. To make turning the sharp corners easier, stop stitching when the machine needle is 1 stitch away from the corner. Lift the top layer and place a thread right next to the needle. Lower the top layer and use the machine wheel to add a single stitch. Lift the top layer again and wrap one side of the thread around the needle so it's between the top and bottom pieces. Continue stitching and repeat this process at the other corner. Press the seam allowance down towards the undercollar side. If needed, trim the seam allowance at the corners. To turn the collar right side out, place your thumb between the layers and hold the seam allowances with your index finger as close to the corner as possible. Turn it inside out and push the index finger. Gently pull the tip of the collar out using the thread. Ensure the top collar rolls over the edge by 0.1 cm and press it. To create an amount of ease on the top collar, locate the collar folding line from your pattern. This line is typically 0.5 cm higher than the stitch line at the centre back and gradually disappears towards the front. Use stay stitching within the seam allowance to maintain this ease. The top collar may look a bit odd at this stage, but this is correct. Apply your chosen top stitch detail. Place one of the collar stands on the under collar side and stitch with a 0.8 cm seam allowance. Attach the collar stand to the right side of the shirt neckline. It is crucial to leave a 1 cm seam allowance at both the beginning and end of the seam. press the seam allowance towards the collar stand. Fold a 1 cm seam allowance on the other collar stand and stay stitch 0.5 cm in to secure it. This stitch is optional but helps with handling the seam allowance and prevents stretching. With the top collar folded down, match the right sides of the collar stands together. Stitch a 1 cm seam allowance around the edge of the collar stand. This stitch should begin and end just outside the edge of the button placket, ensuring you don't stitch the placket itself. Trim down the seam allowance at the curved areas. You can also trim the top collar's seam allowance at this point to reduce bulk. Use your thumb and index finger to hold down the seam allowance as you turn the collar stand right side out. Use a tailor's ham to press the collar. The seam allowances should be neatly arranged. Start edge stitching from one shoulder, checking the position of the other side's edge as you go. Stitch around the edge of the collar stand, handling the underlayer carefully. Complete the stitch by overlapping your starting point. Check that the other side's edge is stitched correctly. Press to finish. This completes part 4. The video will continue with part 5.